I still remember the exact moment the room went silent. It wasn't the kind of silence that follows a beautiful speech or a sweet first dance. No, it was the kind that slaps you across the face and dares you to cry in public. "At my brother Liam's wedding," I begin, my voice steady but my chest still tight, "his bride stood on stage and called me a pathetic single mom, and the whole room laughed." But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was when my own mother, my mother, leaned into her champagne glass and said loud enough for the microphone to catch it, "She's like a discount model with a scratched label." And just like that, they all laughed harder. Every guest, every fork paused mid-air, every chuckle that started small and grew into cackles that wrapped around my throat like a scarf made of shame. I sat there frozen. I could feel the blood rush to my cheeks, my ears ringing. My hands trembled slightly as I reached for my glass of water, but I couldn't lift it without spilling. I clenched my fingers into fists instead, hoping no one noticed how badly I was shaking. My eyes instinctively darted to Liam, my baby brother. He was up at the head table looking down into his lap. His face was blank, but his jaw twitched. His eyes flickered toward me once, just once, and then away, like he couldn't bear to look. That tiny flicker of guilt in his eyes? It gutted me. I felt like I was 8 years old again, standing behind the garage where the neighborhood girls used to whisper about how weird I was, how poor my clothes looked. Except this time, it wasn't strangers. It was my family, my own blood. And for what? Because I'm a single mom? Because I didn't come wrapped in silk and diamond-cut perfection like Emily? Emily, Liam's fiancée, or rather, bride now. She stood on that stage in her pearl-white gown, holding the mic like it was a baton in a race she'd already won. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Not that it ever did. I'd spent the past year watching her fake her way through every family event, offering compliments that sounded more like insults, calling me brave for raising a child on my own, like I was a rescue puppy that just needed praise for staying alive. And then there was my mother, Janice. The woman who used to braid my hair before school now looked at me like I was an expired coupon, once valuable, now useless. Why did her words cut so deep? Why did I still care? Was I really that pathetic? Was being a single mom all I would ever be in their eyes? I sat perfectly still, my back straight, the corners of my mouth forced into a polite smile that hurt to maintain. My son, Noah, sat next to me, clutching a napkin in both hands. His big brown eyes searched my face, and I forced a smile so he wouldn't see the tears pooling in mine. He whispered, "Mom, why are they laughing at you?" That question shattered something inside me. I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came out. What could I say? That sometimes people who are supposed to love you the most are the first to throw you under the bus? I wanted to leave, just walk out, grab Noah's hand, and never look back. But before I could even push my chair back, Noah did something I'll never forget. He stood up, just like that, no hesitation, just a quiet strength that didn't match his 9 years. And then he started walking toward the stage. I should have known that wedding wasn't going to be easy for me. Even before Emily's insult, before my mother's cruel little joke, before the laughter, I had already spent the whole day pretending I belonged there, pretending I was someone they could be proud of. It started that morning, standing in front of my mirror, trying to zip up a dress I bought on clearance. It was a little too tight, a little too formal, but I needed something that didn't scream single mom trying too hard. I tugged at the fabric, turned side to side, and told myself it looked okay. Noah walked in while I was checking my makeup. "You look like a movie star," he said, eyes wide. I smiled, even though I didn't believe him. "Thanks, baby," I said, brushing his hair down gently. "You're my favorite hype man." I remember the drive to the venue, Noah humming in the back seat, asking if Uncle Liam was nervous. I laughed and said, "Probably. Weddings are scary." I didn't say what I was really thinking. Family is scarier. Liam and I were close once. He's 5 years younger than me, and I practically helped raise him when our dad left. I used to help him with homework, cover for him when he snuck out, and hold his hand during thunderstorms. For years, it felt like it was just the two of us against the world. But that changed when he met Emily. She was polished, poised, the kind of woman who walks into a room and makes you feel like you need to apologize for existing. I tried to be kind when he introduced us. I really did. But she made it clear from day one, I wasn't her type of people. She once told me at a family dinner, "It's so inspiring that you're doing this all on your own." In that tone people use when they want you to know they're above you but pretending not to be. My mom loved her immediately. I could see it in the way she leaned in when Emily talked, how she laughed at every story, even the boring ones. Janice had never looked at me that way. With me, she was always stiff, judgmental, like I was a reminder of all the things she didn't want to see in herself. I used to think I was just being sensitive. That wedding proved otherwise. The venue was beautiful, white roses everywhere, soft violin music floating in the air, candlelight flickering off gold-rimmed glasses. Everyone was dressed like they'd stepped out of a magazine, and then there was me, trying not to wrinkle my dress every time I sat down, adjusting the one pair of heels I owned, praying Noah wouldn't spill anything on his little shirt and tie. He looked so proud, though. "Do I look grown up?" he asked, adjusting his collar. "You look like the man of the hour," I told him, and I meant it. As the night went on, I smiled, nodded, made small talk. I laughed at jokes I didn't find funny. I held my head high even when I caught a few glances from Emily's friends. I was surviving. Until that mic moment happened, and everything I had held together, my composure, my pride, my years of pretending, came crashing down. The laughter felt like daggers. And in that moment, I saw something in Noah's eyes that changed everything. Not fear, not confusion, but protection. He wasn't going to let them laugh at me, not without saying something. So he stood up and walked toward the stage, and I just sat there, holding my breath. My heart dropped as I watched Noah walk toward the stage. At first, I thought he was just confused, maybe going to get a napkin or follow the sound of the music or, God, I don't even know. I hoped he'd just come back to the table, that this whole moment would pass, that somehow I could melt into my chair and pretend I hadn't just been humiliated in front of 100 people. But he kept walking, slow, purposeful, each little step tapping across the glossy wood floor like a countdown I couldn't stop. People started to notice. A few turned in their seats. Someone whispered, "Is that her kid?" I could feel every stare slicing across my skin. I stood up halfway, reaching out like maybe I could call him back without making a scene. "Noah," I hissed, my voice tight, barely audible. "Come back here." But he didn't even glance back, just climbed the 2 steps onto the stage where Emily had been moments ago, her bouquet now resting on the edge of the table like a trophy she hadn't earned. The DJ leaned down, trying to nudge him gently. "Hey, buddy, this isn't—" But Liam raised a hand from his seat and said, "Let him speak." That caught everyone's attention. My baby, my sweet, awkward, Minecraft-obsessed 9-year-old, now stood in front of a microphone, both hands gripping the stand like it was keeping him grounded. He looked so small, dwarfed by the tall white roses behind him, but something about the way he held himself made him look 10 feet tall to me. The room quieted. Even Janice put down her champagne flute. Even Emily, who had been busy fake laughing at something one of her bridesmaids whispered, turned slowly, her face stiffening. And then he spoke. "I know something about the bride," he said, just like that. No shaking, no stammering. My heart pounded so hard I could barely hear the silence in the room. My hands were clammy, my mouth dry, my pulse thudding against my throat like it was trying to claw its way out. "Please don't say anything embarrassing," I begged internally. "Please don't say something he'll regret. Please don't make this worse." But something in his voice, calm, clear, honest, made the whole room freeze. Emily's smile twitched. She leaned forward, eyebrows raised. "What are you talking about, sweetheart?" she asked sweetly, but there was a tightness in her voice now, a crack in the porcelain. Noah ignored her. He glanced at me, just for a second, and in that moment I could see everything behind his eyes. His confusion, his protectiveness, his anger, and something else, something quiet and powerful, conviction. Then he looked back at the guests. "I heard her say something," he said. "Before the wedding." Gasps fluttered through the room like a sudden gust of cold air. Emily's face shifted, just slightly, but I caught it. That flicker of panic. I couldn't move. It felt like the floor under me disappeared, like the entire room was suspended in this one moment, just before everything unraveled. And all I could think was, what did he hear? Noah had been with me all day. He hadn't been around Emily alone, had he? And then I remembered. Earlier that afternoon, I'd sent him to find the restroom while I helped tie Liam's boutonniere. 5 minutes. That's all it took. He must have overheard something. The silence stretched thin as glass. No one breathed. No one moved. And Noah was about to drop something that would shatter it all. I felt like I was underwater. Everything slowed down. The sounds around me, the flickering lights, even the nervous shuffle of people shifting in their seats. All I could hear was the rush of my own heartbeat, pounding in my ears like a drum warning of something big, something irreversible. Noah still stood at the microphone, small hands gripping the stand, a wrinkle across his forehead, the kind he got when he was concentrating, like when he tried to solve a tricky math problem or beat a hard level in a video game. But this wasn't a game. I couldn't breathe. Part of me wanted to rush up there and pull him back, whisper in his ear that it wasn't his job to fix this, that I was the adult and I could handle it, that I'd survived worse. Barely, maybe, but I had. But the other part of me, the part that still ached from the laughter, still burned with the sting of betrayal, knew I couldn't stop him, because Noah had made a decision, and I could see it in his face. He was standing up for me, for himself, for us. He cleared his throat, and in the quietest room I'd ever been in, even that tiny sound echoed. "I was looking for the bathroom," he said softly, "before the wedding started." He glanced at me again, this time longer. His face didn't ask for permission. It simply said, "You taught me to speak the truth. I'm just doing what you taught me." I felt a tear slip down my cheek and quickly wiped it with the edge of my napkin. I wasn't sure if it was fear, pride, or both. "I walked past this room," he continued, "and I heard Emily talking to one of her friends." Emily shifted in her seat. Her mouth opened slightly like she was going to interrupt, but she didn't. Maybe she couldn't. Maybe she realized what was coming. Noah's voice didn't tremble. "She said she didn't really want to marry Uncle Liam." Gasps. Audible now. Someone dropped a fork. A couple guests sat upright like they'd just been slapped awake. "She said," Noah continued, "that she needed someone stable, who'd give her a house and wouldn't question her when she goes out late, and that Liam would be too nice to ever say no." The words hung in the air like smoke from a fire nobody knew had started. Emily was frozen, eyes locked on Noah, mouth barely moving. "That's not true," she muttered, but no one seemed to hear or care. And Noah paused, and my stomach flipped. I could feel it coming. I didn't know what it was, but I could feel it. "And she said," he went on, "that once they were married, she'd make sure people like my mom never showed up again." That was it. A full silence fell over the room. Not stunned, not curious. Heavy silence. Like grief, or shame, or truth. Noah looked straight at Emily, then back at Liam, and finally at the guests. "She said my mom was embarrassing," he added, "but she's not. She's kind, she's brave, she works so hard, and she never talks bad about anyone." His voice cracked slightly at the end, and I felt my chest cave in with emotion. I didn't care what happened next. I didn't care who believed him or who tried to cover it up, because right then, on that wedding stage, my son did something most grown adults wouldn't dare to. He told the truth, and without realizing it, he turned the entire night on its head. The room didn't just fall silent. It froze. No one moved. No one breathed. It was like time itself held its breath after Noah's words dropped like a grenade in the middle of that perfect, polished wedding hall. Emily's smile had long since vanished. Her face was pale now, lips parted in disbelief. She looked around the room, searching, maybe for someone to defend her, maybe for a hole to crawl into. She didn't find either. Liam stood slowly, not quickly, not dramatically, just like a man trying to steady himself in a storm he didn't see coming. "Noah," he said, voice tight, "can you come here, bud?" Noah nodded, calm as ever, and walked toward him. Liam bent down, said something I couldn't hear, then wrapped his arms around him, a long, tight hug, and that's when it hit me. Liam wasn't angry. He was shattered. He straightened up again, eyes searching the crowd like he didn't know where he was. Then finally, he turned to Emily. "You said that?" he asked, voice cracking right down the middle. Emily blinked fast, tried to recover, to smile, but it looked more like a grimace. Liam, come on, he's a child. You're going to take the word of a kid over your fiancé? He didn't answer. She kept going. This is ridiculous. I was just joking around with my friends. You know how girls talk before weddings. We vent. We say stupid stuff. He probably misunderstood. He's 9. Her voice rose with each sentence, but the guests weren't buying it. I could feel the shift in the air. People who had laughed with her just half an hour ago were now whispering behind raised hands, exchanging looks, shaking their heads. And then, from the back of the room, a voice said something I'll never forget. I heard her too. Heads turned. It was Rachel, one of Liam's old friends, someone who had drifted away when Emily came into the picture. Rachel stood up, hands clenched at her sides. I went into the bridal suite to bring Emily her shoes. She didn't see me, but she said exactly what Noah just said, word for word. The air cracked open. Emily's face twisted, caught between rage and panic. Oh my God, are you all seriously doing this to me on my wedding night? But she was the only one talking now. Liam looked devastated, like someone had yanked the floor out from under him and he was still falling, still trying to find his footing. I asked you so many times, he whispered to Emily. I asked if you loved me, if you were sure, and you kept saying yes. Emily's expression softened. She tried to reach for his hand, but he stepped back. Liam, she began, but he shook his head. I don't know what's true anymore, he said, but I know my nephew didn't just make that up, and I know my sister never deserved the way we treated her. His words cut through me like lightning, sharp, unexpected, and blinding. For the first time all night, someone actually saw me. Emily didn't scream or cry. She just stood there for a moment, then turned and walked out of the room, heels clicking faster and faster on the tile until the sound disappeared completely. Silence again. Then someone clapped. Just one person, then another. And then the entire room was applauding. Not loud, not wild, but steady. Real. Not for Emily, not for Liam, but for Noah. For telling the truth when no one else would. And I just sat there, hand over my mouth, crying into my napkin, because somehow, in the most public and humiliating moment of my life, my son gave me back my voice. I don't remember much of what happened after that. The applause faded into a blur. People started getting up, murmuring, drifting toward the bar or their tables, like they didn't quite know what to do next. The fairy tale evening had shattered, and in its place something raw and painfully real lingered in the air. Liam came over eventually. I stood trying to gather myself, wiping tears that refused to stop, and I braced for whatever came next. But he didn't say anything at first. He just pulled me into a hug, a real one, tight, long, the kind you give someone after you've finally seen them clearly. I'm sorry, he whispered into my shoulder. God, Sarah, I'm so sorry. That was when I let go, just for a second. My arms around him, the years of distance and hurt pressing between us like glass that had finally cracked. I didn't know if it would all be okay from that moment forward, but I knew this. He finally saw me. And that was more than I ever thought I'd get. Later that night, Noah and I sat in the car in the near-empty parking lot, the venue glowing faintly behind us. I looked at him in the rearview mirror, his little face soft with sleep, his suit jacket off, bow tie loose, curls damp with sweat from the tension of the night. You okay, baby? I asked gently. He nodded slowly. Yeah, are you? That question hit me harder than anything said at that wedding. I think I am, I replied. I think I'm really okay. He sat quiet for a moment, then said, You're not a discount model, you're the best mommy in the world. Tears welled again, but this time they didn't sting. They felt warm, healing, like rain after a long, suffocating heat. That night I tucked him into bed like I always do, but I held on a little longer than usual. I kissed his forehead, smoothed back his hair, and whispered, I'm so proud of you, Noah. You were so brave. He smiled, half asleep. You taught me. And just like that, everything shifted. I used to think being a single mom made me less than, like my life had a stamp on it, returned, damaged, not quite enough. But my son didn't see me that way. And when he stood up in front of a room full of adults to defend me, he reminded me of something I'd forgotten. I'm not weak. I'm not broken. I'm just human. and I've survived more than most. Liam ended up postponing the honeymoon, said he needed time to think. We talked a few days later, really talked, and I could feel something rebuilding between us. Slowly, gently, not perfectly, but honestly. Janice never apologized. She sent a cold text a week later. "I'm sure you understand things got out of hand. Hope you're doing well." I didn't reply. And for the first time in my life, I didn't need her approval because I had Noah and I had myself. People always say weddings bring families together. But this one? It pulled the mask off. And I'm grateful for that. I didn't lose anything that night. I gained clarity. I gained truth. And I gained the kind of pride no designer dress or polished image could ever offer. Turns out, I wasn't the one with the scratched label. I was the one who kept her integrity intact while others sold theirs cheap. And the person who reminded me of that was a 9-year-old boy in a clip-on tie, holding my hand. So, yeah. That's the story of how my son, my brave, beautiful 9-year-old, stood up at a wedding and changed everything with just a few words and a whole lot of heart. If this story moved you, made you feel something, or reminded you of your own strength, please like the video. It really helps more people find it. And if you believe in standing up for what's right, even when your voice shakes, share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And hey, if you want more real, raw, honest stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell so you never miss a new video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.